Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dell Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. Like we've been doing over the last several weeks, I have the opportunity today to chat with an amazing person, Adam Van Nortwick, who seems to master everything he takes on. I look forward to Adam sharing about his business, Valley Physical Therapy and Sports Performance, located in Harrisonburg, Virginia, along with anything else that he'd like to share. Adam and Valley Physical Therapy and Sports Performance are also small business partners of our upcoming 2025 Leadership Legacy Experience happening on June 13th at Atlantic Union Bank Center in Harrisonburg. So Adam, thank you for being a partner on that and welcome today.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you being here.
Happy
Now,
to.
as we get going, I look forward to learning, and our listeners hearing anything that you want to share, and especially learning about some specific purpose that you have, and we'll get into those, more about your business. But to start off, we'd love to learn more about you and your professional background and any experience in your industry that you'd like to give us an overview about.
Okay, absolutely. So I actually started my career as an athletic trainer. I graduated from Appalachian State in 2007. And for those of you who don't know what an athletic trainer is, we're those guys that run out onto the field when someone gets hurt and is laying on the ground. So basically the role, that you have as an athletic trainer is evaluating those initial injuries and then taking the athlete through a rehab program and progressing them back to sport. So that's where I started my career. And I realized I wanted to learn more and be able to apply more knowledge to my patients and clients. So after working as an athletic trainer for 3 years, I went back to physical therapy school, and I did that from 2010 to 2013 and graduated from Lynchburg College with my PT degree. And I've been working in the Valley since graduation. My experience in training, just because of that athletic training background, is more based on like sports rehabilitation and then looking at the body from like a whole body perspective, not just focusing in on one joint or one specific body part. I've had some training in hands-on techniques that work to reduce pain and restore mobility. And basically, I'm trained in teaching patients how to independently manage their condition. We don't want them to be reliant on us after they're done with us. Yes, we're here as a resource, but we like you to be able to manage your condition on your own and understand what's going on with your body. And just in general, I've had experience doing that for the past 11 years.
11 years. Wow. And I love what you explained there. That's empowering your patients for their own success moving forward. Wow, that's incredible. What was your clear purpose for accepting role with leadership responsibility? Because Wes and I have seen you in a leadership role for a number of years, and now you've taken that another step and started your own business. So entrepreneur, business owner, there's other things that you're involved in. I see your blogs and you run, and I don't know a lot about that, but I love watching it and just the success you create. But you must have a clear purpose in accepting leadership in any of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. With basically how I've worked for the past 11 years, I came to understand that basically I wanted to be in charge of treating patients the way that I wanted them to be treated. It seemed a lot of time that we were pressed to see more patients in a day than I felt like we had time to see, and I wasn't able to give them the level of treatment that I felt that they deserved. So my clear purpose for accepting a role in leadership was I get to make the rules, I get to decide how many people I see, and I get to decide how they're treated. And I really felt that was the biggest thing that kind of drove me. I wouldn't say that I was naturally a leader, but I knew that that's what I needed to do to be able to see my vision and, be in a business where my vision kind of carried out to everyone else. I didn't want to be basically beholden to others' rules and values, which happens when you're not in leadership sometimes. I would say, and as business grows, one of my purposes is that I want to be able to, I like to see myself as an open-minded leader. I like to be able to work with other people to help them be able to live their values too. And together create, the best thing that we can for our patients and clients.
There's a clear cry in society today for wanting and needing more time with the individual, with that doctor that is helping them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so excited that you're offering that. And here in Harrisonburg, and you do some things online. So anything that you want to share, we can certainly get into that. What really motivated you to get involved in leadership training? Because I know that you've come to some of our events, and there's leadership training in your own industry. So what really inspires and motivates you that way?
Well, I kind of got thrown into it in a couple different ways. I would say my first leadership role that I got asked or voluntold to do was I was on the Virginia, it's not the Virginia Board of Physical Therapy, but it's our professional organization in Virginia for physical therapy. I was asked to serve as a board member because there was a vacant spot on that. So I did that for a few years. And, as I did that, I enjoyed doing it, but I really felt unprepared. I felt like, I guess as you can tell from some of the other things I do, I love to be prepared and know that I'm doing the best job I can with them. And I felt unprepared in doing that. So then when I was asked to be in a leadership role in the previous practice that I was part of, I knew that I had to work harder to understand how to be a good leader to serve my people well. I kind of like equated to my running. As a runner, I don't like not train and then go run a marathon and expect it to go well. I spend a lot of time preparing and making sure that I've done everything I can to know that I'm going to do the best job I possibly can. And so early on, thankfully, with my leadership role with Appalachian Physical Therapy, we got the opportunity to work with you and Wes and Dove Development, and we started learning the John Maxwell principles. We learned the Maxwell speaking method. And I, at the time, learned, yes, that could help me be a better leader. But I also was really motivated by just seeing how that could make me a better person in general. And so I've realized that, if I want to be the best for my clients, that leadership training is not only going to help, my employees and my business, but it's also going to help my clients too. So
We're certainly thrilled to have you be involved in anything that we offer. And speaking of that, you've been willing to partner with us more than just this year. So you were willing to partner with us for several years with the Live to Lead Harrisonburg event, which is now grown into the Leadership Legacy event. But why would you be willing to partner with Dove Development and Consulting?
that's a great question. It's got a very easy answer. I learn a ton every year. I can't tell you how many notes I come home with and then have to obviously go back and read and start to implement. But the cool thing is you can do just that. Like I come away with ideas that can immediately be put to use. Like the following week, you can put a lot of these things into practice. And, I find that the experience for me, it's been a valuable experience that I don't know where else I could get an experience like that. And especially this close to home. We are very lucky to have these things in the Valley, that you and Wes have brought these things to the Valley. Not just Live to Lead, but I think this event that's coming up is going to be, there's nothing like it. So we are extremely lucky to have you guys here putting that on. And that really serves our community in a way that I think a lot of people don't understand. I know that, going to Live to Lead, when I come back to the clinic with these ideas, it helps me be a better boss. It helps me serve my patients better. And it helps me know what direction to take my business in to be able to do that. So I just, in general, I strongly believe that what you and Wes are doing for our community to develop leaders is huge. And I hope that more people take advantage of that in the future. Most people have to travel who knows how long to events like this. And we have a huge one right here in Harrisonburg. It's incredible.
Thank you for that. That's part of our purpose. So it does us good to hear that it's working for individuals. And we really respect the way you go back to work and even in your personal life and you apply it. Because too often folks come away and, they're busy. They have a lot of things going on. But if you don't intentionally apply it like you're doing, then you spend a day learning but not growing.
Yep. I love the John Maxwell, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge and action is power.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's power. Powerful to hear that.
Yep.
So switching gears just a little bit, because we want the community and the Shenandoah Valley to know more about you and your organization, what would you like the area to know about your company now that You've started, I believe it's been over a year, but correct me there, give us whatever you want, and just share things that you want them to know that they may not know.
Yeah, I won't quite be a year yet, so
Okay.
still young, but our company was founded on the idea that there's a better way to serve clients. I felt that we could dedicate our most valuable resource, which is our time, to our patients. And like you said earlier, that's not happening enough in healthcare. A lot of times, you get 5-10 minutes in front of someone and then they send you on to someone else, or they write you a prescription, something like that. And I knew that we're not going to be making accurate diagnoses. Patients aren't going to be getting the treatment that they need unless we can give them that time resource. So I knew that that was the number one thing when I was, writing down my core values and things for my business. And my mission statement was that there's a better way to serve clients. How do we do that? And so we realized that giving them time was the best way to do that. So that allows me to place them first. That was one of the other core values. Patients come first. We don't let insurance or payers dictate how much time I spend with them, what I'm allowed to do with them. We have a practice act for that. The licensing body of physical therapy tells me what I can and can't do. I shouldn't be beholden to, we're not going to pay you to do this treatment, even though you feel like it's helpful, that type of thing. So that was one of the other ways when we were, working on founding Valley Physical Therapy. It's like, we want to be able to give basically the treatments that we feel like the patient needs without anyone placing restrictions on them. Let the treatment speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the last thing kind of that I had on that was that each experience, it's designed around each patient and individual's needs. It's not this cookie cutter approach. A lot of times when you don't get to spend enough time with someone, say you come in for a knee issue, I don't get a good time or I didn't have before a good amount of time to determine what's the best treatment to do for how you're presenting and what activities you want to get back to. I basically had to be like, here's a couple exercises that generally help with a knee, and that's not the best way to do it. Each person presents differently and each person wants to get back to a different activity. I was going to joke around, and I was thinking about this earlier and say, if Wes came in for something, I'm not going to treat him the same way I'm treating my runner. He doesn't want to get back to running marathons. I'm going to find out what activities Wes likes doing that, he wants to get back to, and I'm going to train him specifically for that.
Wow, personal coordination of care. That's so powerful. I've noticed that the best doctors are figuring out a way to either get into a practice or start their own where they are able to help people at the level that they want to. So thank you for leading that charge. You're being a great example in leadership there.
Thank you. There's a few of us that are trying.
Yes, it's exciting, creating a movement. So I'm sure you've had recent projects or campaigns, ideas that your company is working on. Can you give us an example of something recent that you've spearheaded and the impact that it really had on the company, your organization, or the industry as a whole? Just was really fulfilling?
Yeah. So basically what we were talking about, just previously talking about, kind of rolls right into this. We don't really have a project right now, but there are a bunch of us, what we would call out-of-network providers. We don't participate with insurances. And, our goal is to raise awareness for patients that, yes, they have a choice where they go, and they don't have to accept the care that they're told that they have to have. So the group of us who are all kind of independent little practices, we're trying to raise awareness for patients that, you don't have to accept where, your insurance tells you to go. And that they don't have to accept that a therapist won't do a certain treatment because, the payer won't reimburse for it. So our ultimate goal is to, bring enough attention to this that the payers change their strategy and allow patients to use their insurance where they want to and for the treatments they want to. We're looking, what our goal is and what we hope is that these payers will start paying based on outcomes. Right now, what they do a lot of the time is they pay us based on how much time we spend with the patient. So we'll say 15 minutes of this type of thing, but it doesn't take into account, if you're providing a better service than the next person down the road. And so we're hoping that it becomes more outcome based, and that we're able to kind of create that movement. So eventually it comes down to the patient getting what they need better than they are currently. So, it's just kind of a grassroots, each individual little provider doing their own thing. But I do know more and more people that are doing this. And I have 2 friends that did it before me. And that's how I basically modeled my practice. And they gave me the courage to go do this on my own. And I think as more of us do that, we will have a little more of a voice, hopefully, and we can advocate for that.
Absolutely. But you've talked some about the purpose of your organization and values. Can you tell us how the purpose of your organization really aligns with your own values and purpose?
Yeah, I mean, in general, like I talked about a little bit earlier, my purpose is to provide the highest quality care to patients, and like I was talking about with time, I think one of the most valuable things you can do for anyone in general is to give them your full attention and time, right? So basically the purpose of my organization, how it aligns with, my values, is that it allows me to kind of be true to me and give people that amount of time that I can listen to them and give them the attention they need without distractions, thinking about I have another patient somewhere else, or I'm taking a phone call, those types of things. So in general, I think for me, that's the biggest purpose, and those are some of my biggest core values that's the way, I guess, it allows those 2 things to align, is the best way to say it.
Yes. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit, and it's the last question I'll have for you, but you add anything that you'd like. The young individuals of today, so our aspiring young professionals, they are the leaders. Not only now they're starting to lead, but they're going to be leading the world, years from now, and be the leaders that our grandchildren have, the leaders of the future. So what would you say to these young professionals looking to advance in their careers and become successful leaders?
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest thing, and I don't remember who said this, but find good mentors. And a great way to do that is think about leaders that you worked for in the past and you really admired, and think about the qualities that they had and seek them out. Ask them how they got to the level they're at. How did they learn to be such a good leader, to be such a good boss? And don't just pick one person. Get a variety of opinions. Find a couple people that you really enjoyed having as a boss, and that you learned a lot from while you're in a certain role. That's what I do, and I have a couple that come to mind immediately. I don't remember where I heard that, but immediately, like 5 names came to mind. Maybe we heard that at Live to Lead this year. I would say the other thing that has really helped me is I ask people what leadership books they've read and how they've been helpful for them. And I seek out those books and I read them. And same thing. I read a variety of books. I love John Maxwell's stuff, since you all have introduced me to it. I mean, I've read books on like military leadership, all kinds of different opinions. And there's a lot of neat kind of interweaving threads between those, even if it is a different style of leadership. So I would just say, seek out different types of resources, read, learn from someone, get a mentor, someone you can bounce ideas off of is huge. If you end up in a situation or a position where you don't know what to do, it's great to have someone who's already been through something similar.
Wow, Adam, our listeners really need to learn more about you and how to find you. Where could they find you, online or whatever you want to share, and learn more about Valley Physical Therapy and Sports Performance?
Okay, we're at valleyptandsport.com for our website. We are also on Instagram, and I'm trying to think of we don't have a podcast or anything for Valley Physical Therapy, but for my online business that I really didn't get into as much, I treat running injuries online, and we have a podcast where I bring on people who are either, runners or people who have experience with injury prevention, those types of things. That's called the Runner's Doc. There, you can get that on Apple Podcast, and we also have website for that. It's therunnersdocpt.com, and there's a blog on there, and that we also are on Instagram for the Runner's Doc. So a bunch of different places.
Thank you for that, Adam. This has been an amazing time with you here. We appreciate you. We want you to get tremendous value being a partner with us in the Leadership Legacy event. In closing, for anyone listening to this, we are offering complimentary access to a resource that Wes and I created. There are over 100 leadership lessons on this platform. They're developed and delivered by Wes and I. If you'd like to try it out or need continuing education credits, whatever the reason would be, shoot us an email at admin@dove-development.net. We'll be happy to hook you up with a complimentary 45-day access at no cost. So thank you again, Adam, for joining us. And to everyone listening, enjoy the rest of your day and God bless.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.